Instruction, golf news, equipment, travel, interviews, course profiles, and more. Your weekly fix of all things golf is about to begin. It's the Flagstick Podcast with your hosts, Jeff Potter and Scott McLeod. Well, welcome golfers into the Flagstick Podcast. I am your host, Jeff Potter. With me, as always, is Scott McLeod. And the Flagstick Podcast is brought to everybody this week by TaylorMade Golf. Every driver has an inertia number, and the higher the inertia number, the more forgiving the driver will be. And now golf is about to discover the first ever driver that combines TaylorMade speed with forgiveness of 10K inertia. The all-new QI10, more forgiveness means long, straight drives, even on off-center strikes. The days of missing the fairway are numbered. Get ready to experience your drives in 10K. The all-new QI10, only from TaylorMade. To learn more, visit TaylorMadeGolf.ca. Before we get started, make sure you're listening to us or following us across all social media networks, Instagram, X, TikTok, and Facebook, and subscribe to this podcast on Spotify, Audible, Amazon Music, and Apple Podcasts. We really encourage you to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Like us and click the notification bell. Make sure you don't miss any episodes or anything else that we might post there, because new stuff is coming, I guarantee that. Scotty Mac.
What's going on?
Well, I'll tell you, it's still not super warm out, so I'm still not really ready to hit the golf courses just yet. I'm getting close, though. I feel like I'm getting close. Probably this weekend. Yeah. Maybe tomorrow night we'll see. Maybe I'll slip out for a few holes. I'm feeling good though. Like
it's layer season. It's like I'm wearing a shirt. Put 4 layers on. Let's wear 2. Let's do 3. I don't know what's going on. So,
it's just crazy. I just want some consistency in our weather so I can kind of, a little less rain, a little less cold. But it is what it is. Much like it is what it is. As the I gotta say, I have my own opinions about live golf, and sure many I know, and I hate to go down this road again, but you know what?
I don't even pay attention. You know what? To much.
It's like I try not to, but I am active on social media as far as watching things.
Yeah,
and it was sort of brought to my attention from somebody like, "Hey, did you see what happened on live golf?" And there was an incident with a water bottle,
Adelaide.
Getting thrown at somebody. I thought, I'm going to check this out. So I checked it out.
Not sure if that was a water bottle, but it might have been a beer can.
So the point is, once you watch one thing, of course, then you kind of start scrolling through, because then there's more things that come from that one thing. So I start looking at some other things, and it starts feeding me more stuff. And I'm like, and I came across a series of videos from one of the events, and it was a bunch of highlights.
Okay.
And I'm sure everybody is aware of the movie Happy Gilmore.
Sure.
Great Adam Sandler movie. Great little fun golf. Probably one of the greatest golf movies of all time.
Most popular.
If you like comedy and you like watching Bob Barker get beat up. But just a fun movie. But that's the whole point. It's just a fun movie. It's just a movie. It's not supposed to be real life professional golf. But guess what, everybody? It actually exists in real life. I have seen it. It is not AI. It is the real deal. I watched highlights from the last live golf event. And
Adelaide, this is the Australia event.
Yeah, I swear that there was horns in the crowd. There was yelling while people were putting and while they were swinging, in the middle of swings. Like, this is the kind of stuff on the PGA Tour or any amateur golf event, let alone professional, but the hands go up, quiet, please. That's part of what golf is.
Except for the Waste Management Phoenix Open.
So but even the Waste Management Phoenix Open, the noise level while somebody is hitting it was not this. I mean, yes, the crowds get rowdy at the Waste Management, especially on the stadium hole.
Yep.
But imagine every hole is a stadium hole, and every hole there's music playing in the background. It's like a party. Like, it's like live golf is like a professional golf party where you've got extreme, like, can you imagine in sport? There's always music that plays between things, right? So you go to a hockey game, the music is playing between the plays while they're timeouts. The music is playing before the pucks drop. Baseball, there's music playing between innings. Football, I'm sure there's music playing between at halftime always. There's something going on. Any sport, there's always something going on in between things. Golf is not one of those sports where there should be something going on, like music blaring while things are going on. Those sports wouldn't have the music blaring while the play was actually happening because it'd be impossible to hear a whistle or, can you imagine tennis where the music is blaring while they're playing as opposed to between points? Like
Yeah.
it is an absolute, it has become what I thought was once sort of something that was just change the rules a little bit, wear shorts, shotgun starts, all this stuff. Okay, it's different. Whatever. It's different. Don't like it. Don't have to like it, but can tolerate it because it exists and it's professionals, whatever. But now my opinion has changed like immensely based on what I saw. And I know that not every single event on the Live Golf Tour is going to be the same way. I get that.
Because they don't have the fans.
But
Australia does. Yeah.
But what I witnessed has clouded my opinion of what Live is, because you just can't do that's not golf. I'm sorry, but on no planet anywhere is that considered golf where you're making that much noise and that being that boisterous and that obnoxious while somebody is playing, while they're hitting, while they're putting. In between, I can tolerate it as long as you quiet it down when the hits happen. But that's part of what golf is it's that sort of ethical, when someone's hitting that respect, that's part of what golf is. And you can't tell me that, oh, Jeff, the golf industry is changing. This has to change. People have to be less hoity-toity when it comes to golf. No, you don't. You can change the way you dress, sure. You can wear your hat backwards, wear no collared shirts, wear shorts, wear track pants as pants instead of dress pants, wear high top shoes. I don't care. Clothing is clothing. Appearances are individual. I don't care about that. But when it comes to the game itself, the integrity of the game, the ethics of the game, the respect of the game, that is part of what golf is defined as. It just, I can't get around that. And I lost it. And I'm just like, I cannot believe this. I am so talking about this on the podcast. Don't know if everybody shares my opinion. I'm sure those people that tune into to Live to say, golf should be more fun. Golf should be more, less stressful. And it's like, well, yeah, but there's ways of having more fun playing golf and playing your music in your cart within your group. I can live with that as long as the music's not so loud that everybody on the golf course can hear it. I get that. Yeah. Cool.
I don't mind it until the point that the golf doesn't matter. You know what I mean? If people are all of a sudden there where they're not there because of golf,
doesn't that what it feels like with Live at times?
It feels like, but it's not just Live. We're seeing, like I said,
even the waste management. Like I agree, waste management is gone. Yeah. It's gone too far and needs to be dialed back.
Yeah, and I'm not a curmudgeon. I mean, I want to entertain new audiences and so forth.
Sure.
But I also want people to be there for the sport itself, and have some interest in it, as opposed to just, we're just going there to get hammered. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, you don't think the players like what happened in the waste management? They like sort of that, they get into it. They bring stuff for the crowds. Yeah. To a point. There is a limit. There's a cap on this.
When it starts to interfere with play, that's if you talk to players and caddies, and especially at that particular event, and I obviously haven't talked to a player or caddy from one of the Live events or whatever, but yeah, there's definitely a point where there's interference and it sort of boils over to a little bit too much. And it's not about respecting the game or whatever the case for them. It's just a case of, let's just respect the course of play while it's happening, the level of interactivity. So there is a limit, but people have to understand, you get what you ask for, but you also got to understand where are the limits of that and what are you opening the door to as well. So
yes,
it's not a case of let's just have no rules at all. And it'd be very interesting to hear the perspective of a Live player that's not a Live player anymore, that's maybe not getting the money. Not that we're ever going to see that or hear from somebody on that. And do they have a different opinion as opposed to a paid opinion, and the fact that they're in that environment, and what are they saying behind the doors?
Exactly. Right now, the
Right.
ones that are currently participating in it that have been paid big money aren't going to be saying anything
No,
negative
of
about
course not.
anything.
No,
I
of
mean,
course
I
not.
think
Yeah.
Brooks Koepka is probably the closest one
Hmm.
to saying some things that would indicate that maybe he'd rather be back on the PGA Tour, but
Yeah.
he's that's not going to happen for a while for
Yeah.
him, I'm sure.
So
So whatever. Okay. You know what? Enough live. I've said my piece. I've got your opinion. Let's move on from it. You got to
sure.
play
I
some wooden
did.
sticks. Some wooden
Yes.
sticks.
Yeah.
Ontario
They had a
Golf
partners.
Hall of
Yeah, they had
Fame
a
kind of thing.
Yeah, so the Ontario Golf Hall of Fame is next week, and they have a ceremony for that. And they used to have a Partners Day that was affiliated with that. Now they've separated it out. So I went up to the Partners Day on Tuesday. Got to join up with Chris Fry, who's now the director of community marketing communications for Golf Ontario. Jason Logan from Score, which actually part of the reason of playing with Jason was sort of prompted our topic on the back nine, because he had a historical fairway wood in his bag.
All
So
right.
it
All
got me
right.
thinking about that a bit. Course is great. They're in the process of building some new clubhouses, or not clubhouses, new guest houses that they have up there.
Nice.
It's always fun to go play that, and it was a little bit wet in the morning there, but again, just nice to get out. I've only been out. That's my second 18. But it was just good to see, and they're about to celebrate, I think, 25th anniversary. Our friend Tony
Cool.
Harris is doing a little painting. I can't reveal
Of
what
course
hole
he
it is,
is.
but I've seen said painting, and it looks great. But yeah, it was fun to get out and see some other friendly faces as well. Owen Rigg, our buddy from the north,
Oh, the
he
big rig.
yeah, he does. Obviously, he's a regional director with Golf Ontario, so he's looking forward to coming down, playing in the Flagstick Open, and yeah, it was good to catch up with him and a bunch of their other staff as well prior to the mayhem of tournament season for Golf Ontario.
Yes, exactly. It's the calm before the storm.
It is.
Um, well, you got two more 18s in than I have. So, and by the time you get to six, you'll probably have six more 18s in than I
Maybe.
have. And then we'll just have to, we'll see what happens. But
Yeah,
well, yes.
all good.
All right. We got a good show, as
Yeah,
always. We're going to get you all caught up. That's what we do on the front nine. And on the back nine, we're going to talk about fairway woods.
we
So
are.
further to what you just said, that spurred the topic of discussion for the back nine this week.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about fairway woods. So let's get to the front nine right now. Presented by Metcalf Golf Club, a natural setting, a pleasant challenge. Golf season is here. Start preparing for the upcoming. Well, not the upcoming season. Start preparing for the season that's here. Get on the wait list for memberships and leagues and purchase some game passes. Start the season saving some money compared to regular green fees. Visit metcalfgolf.com to shop now. Okay. Front nine.
Yeah.
We've been talking the last bunch of shows about about the dominance of Scotty Scheffler. We've been
Hmm.
talking about the dominance of Nelly Corda.
Yeah.
But I think maybe we've been missing somebody.
Oh
It's
yeah.
kind of fallen down through the cracks a little bit, and a Canadian nonetheless, because Stephen Ames on the Champions Tour has been ripping it up.
Yeah.
Um,
Second win of the year on the
Second win
weekend.
is six wins in his last 29 starts.
I know, which is fantastic. And Steven's great. We interact a fair bit with him on social. But it was nice to see 60th birthday back at TPC Sugarloaf, just outside Atlanta there. Third time winning on that golf course, and made a beautiful bomb birdie on the last to kind of close it out. And yeah, he's just been tearing it up. Like you said, 6 wins in those last 29 starts. So I mean,
That's
that's pretty
insane.
impressive. Yeah, pretty impressive. So
So let's
uh,
not forget. Let's not forget Stephen Ames.
no, better keep an eye on that one for sure. So he's
Uh,
top of the Charles Schwab cut points list right now. So
okay, so somebody other than Bernard Longer is at the top of that list.
well, Bernhard's obviously been injured. He's back this week after ripping out his Achilles tendon there last
Ouch.
year. So he's back at it, but we'll see how well he plays.
Okay. Another Canadian, Stuart McDonald, second winner in a row from Canada on the PGA Tour Americas,
Yeah,
and he picked up this title at the Diners Club Peru Open.
yeah.
Um,
which is great for him. I mean, he won an event, I think it was 2017 in Peru as an amateur. And then the cool part was he had his dad, Robert, on the bag. And
Nice.
his dad was very sick. They weren't sure if he was actually going to make it. This was some months ago. And then he was able to join him, and they host that trophy together. I can't even talk today. I don't know what the deal is. I didn't have enough coffee, I guess.
Apparently not. Or
Yeah,
too
so
much.
yeah, maybe that's it. So yeah, very neat to see and have your dad there as the caddy. And his dad caddied for him a lot through the years, but to be there for that win, that's great. And then the tour is on to Ecuador right now, playing in 9,000 feet in Ecuador this week. So good
So
luck.
why don't you start drinking your coffee from a real mug instead of some dainty little Starbucks Christmas
Look,
cup?
it's water in there. I don't have
I don't care
coffee in
what's in
there,
it. I don't
so
care what's in it. That cup is tragic.
so
Tragic. Look at that thing.
it's
Freaking stars on it. Christmas.
uh all right.
Next thing you know, you're gonna be breaking in some freaking Santa Claus hat.
Maybe.
Okay. A little bit of regional news
Yeah.
to go through this week. The OVGA started its junior development team started their outdoor training this week at the Meadows.
Yep.
18 team members, aged 11 to 18. It supplements their work with the personal coaches, so it's not in replacement of the coaches that they currently work with. You can follow their progress this year to see how things how things are going across social media, on Instagram at Team OVGA, on X at Team OVGA, and on Facebook Team OVGA.
Yeah.
So
Shocking.
follow Team OVGA
Yeah.
when you're searching for it. It's Team OVGA.
Yeah, you can pop up to flagstick.com if you want to see the name of all the members of the team there. And
Nice little
yeah,
picture of the group too.
it
They're
is.
cool shirts.
They passed that along, which was nice. And most of that team, if not all of them, are going to be in the field this weekend because the OVGA is getting their tournament schedule started. So
Okay.
that's May 3rd, 4th. If you happen to listen to this podcast after that date, that's the Junior Spring Classic, which is going to take place in the Meadows, which is great. They got to practice there kind of last weekend, and 100 plus players in the field.
Nice.
It's a qualifier for a number of events: a Golf Ontario event, an Optimist event, and a Golf Quebec event. So, the links to the pairing and the scoring are all up at flagstick.com. So if you catch that beforehand, that's fine. But if you want to catch up on the leaderboard afterwards, you can do that as well.
Very cool. Very cool. Some hole-in-one action around the
Cool stuff,
region.
actually.
Justin Greenham
Yeah.
scored his second ace in the month of April.
Isn't that crazy?
It's crazy.
Like 20, 21
I think I
and
have
22
two
days.
lifetime. I have two
Yeah.
lifetime.
No, you have more than that. You've got
Oh,
four.
I have two.
I think you have four.
No, Garrison
Okay.
and Mississippi.
Oh, okay. Just two then.
Two.
All right. Yes.
Kind of two.
Okay. I thought
Two.
you had more.
Never recorded two. He aced the ninth hole on the second day the club was open.
Yeah.
And then in the rain this past Monday, he hit that perfect shot on the 17th hole. So now he has three total, but two in the month of April.
Yeah. What a way to start the year, right?
That is a good way to start the year. So either things can go really well from this point forward, or things can go terribly wrong. So sorry, Justin, to bring that up and put the hex out on it, but it's either going to be a great golf year for you or terrible, one or the other.
Yeah, I was talking to Steve Martineau, the GM from there, and just said, Justin's only been a member there for a few years, but he plays a lot. So everybody's happy to see, and even the story that we posted, we had a lot of responses to it. So obviously a popular guy, and yeah, that's what a way to start the year. I mean, most other people haven't picked up a club yet. Yeah, exactly.
Hands up. You got it. Big anniversary. Laramac Golf and Tennis Club. I don't know if anybody hasn't played Laramac.
Of course.
You don't know what you're missing. It's a 9-hole golf course.
Chelsea, Quebec.
Chelsea, Quebec. Just great condition. Cool opening hole.
Yeah.
Like coolest opening hole. You're not necessarily likely going to make a bogey on that opening hole, but
probably not. Very short par 4.
Short, drivable par 4. Beautiful opening hole. But they happen to be celebrating their 100th anniversary this year, and they're doing so with a series of events. Now, the full story of what's going on is up on it will be up on flagstick.com, and it includes a golf day with hickory shafted clubs that will be played there as they would have been back in 1924. Guest speaker is architect Christine Fraser, who we know very well, Christine
Of course.
Fraser.
Yep.
And who will spend a few days at the club in August as well. So
Yeah, she's gonna.
Is Joseph involved in the
I
Hickory?
don't know. They do have the golf
Gotta
historic.
be involved.
I probably is. They have the Golf Historical Society of Canada involved with that. I guess they're going to play the original layout, which was 5 holes, and then they'll have some other things happening on the
Cool.
9. David Stockwell, who is the gentleman who we wrote a feature on years ago, who's played all the royal golf courses in the world. He's actually penning the piece that we're going to have up on there about that. So
cool. A guest piece. I like it.
A guest piece, which is good. So, and Christine's great. She's going to spend time with, men's groups, ladies groups, so forth, to do some speaking, be part of that. And they're just putting together some fun stuff. And it's neat to celebrate those golf courses. And they have so much heritage. There's so many stories and so many people that have filtered through, clubs like this through the years. So, good on them to make it a big thing and not just kind of a one-time thing, but to celebrate kind of all year long.
Cool. All right. Well, congratulations, Lara Mac, on celebrating your 100th anniversary. Hopefully, you get a chance to spend some time up there this summer.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about this next one, Scott?
I will.
And actually the next two, because they kind of blend in together a little bit there.
So we follow a lot of different qualifiers and things for various events. And one of the events that's, just came into play last couple of years, the U.S.G.A. started what's they call their Adaptive Open, which is like a disabilities championship, has various categories that people will compete in and so forth. We have some players that, have played in these in the past. But the fun one is Russell Aid, who's from Sterling, who's only 16, who's like 6'8" now. This kid is just stretching out. He was at a qualifier in New Jersey, which there was only one spot available. And he managed to shoot 3 under, shot 69. Got a spot in the field, and the event's going to take place in Kansas later this summer. He competes in the arm impairment division. So good for him to qualify and get through. And then also Eastern Ontario's Curtis Barkley. Obviously, we know we've talked about a fair bit. He's already exempt from last year. I think I mentioned it's the second year in a row Russell has qualified and gotten through. Curtis is exempt from his G4D tour ranking. So he's going to be
5th.
Yeah, is he? Yeah, I think he's
5th.
5 right now. Yeah, he's 5th. So and then he was playing this week. They had a G4D event in concert with the CJ Cup Byron Nelson down in Texas, and which is the first time they've had one of the Golf for Disabled tour events in concert with the PGA Tour. So that's new for them down there. They played Monday, Tuesday. He finished 7th down there, but that's a big step for the tour. They've been mostly playing events in concert with the DP World Tour, which is obviously very expensive for the participants as well. They have to go over and take part in events in Europe and so forth. Even, I think Curtis's last event was in Kenya. So it's cool to now have these happening in conjunction with the PGA Tour. Because the PGA Tour players get exposed to it as well. So I know Curtis had pictures posted. He was with Mac Hughes. He was playing around with Adam Scott's putter. There's all sorts of different things that happened, and he had a good experience. I'm looking forward to having a chat with him after he gets back from Texas. But yeah, he'll be in the field there for in Kansas for that U.S.G.A. Adaptive Open as well. And I know Tessa Trojan, and there's a couple other Canadians that have already qualified, but we'll catch up on that, and we'll get a full list soon.
Cool.
There you go.
All right. Well, that should cover getting you all caught up, I think, for this week.
Today, yeah.
Go to flagstick.com. There'll probably be some more new stuff up there this afternoon, tomorrow,
Guaranteed.
and the next day.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to get out of here. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we are going to get into some discussions about fairway woods. We'll find out what that's all about when we come back from this break. Stay with us. You are listening to the Flagstick podcast with Jeff Potter and Scott McLeod.
Forgiveness isn't just a feeling. It's a number you can measure. The higher the number, the more stable and forgiving the driver. Introducing the all-new QI10 Max with the stability and forgiveness of 10K inertia, the most forgiving driver we've ever made. 10K forgiveness meets TaylorMade speed in the all-new QI10 Max. Only from TaylorMade.
All right, well, welcome back to the Flagstick podcast with myself, Jeff Potter, and the other guy, Scott McLeod. Hope you enjoyed the break. We did. Coffee's refueled, and we are ready to tackle The Back Nine. The Back Nine. Presented by Celtic Golf Center, located only 20 minutes from Ottawa in beautiful Kemptville. Celtic Golf Center is indoor golf on another level, featuring 5 state-of-the-art TrackMan simulators, 2 Unicore simulators with GS Pro. Celtic Golf Center has over 10,000 golf courses that you can choose from, as well as options to play rounds with friends, practice with full swing analysis, or play golf games. Visit CelticGolfCenter.com to learn more about booking tee times in the fall, maybe.
Probably.
Yeah. I know he's still open, but I'm sure that will change soon, even though he's been away on vacation again. All right, back nine topic, as we
It's
alluded
always good to
to.
chirp Andy.
I know. Well, Andy, he's
chirpable.
He creates the mess himself.
You got it.
But we love you anyway, Andy. Looking forward to seeing you at the Open. All right, Fairway Woods, Scotty Mac. Let's talk about Fairway Woods. Best of all time. What makes a good fairway wood? Well, I mean, let's talk first of all about what makes a fairway wood a good fairway wood, especially because the 3 woods are particularly hard to hit off the turf. And they also can be used off the tee as well, and sometimes they're a better option than driver in a lot of cases. But let's first talk about what makes a fairway wood good.
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing a lot of people, change up their configurations in their bag. We're seeing a lot of high lofted fairway woods being put into play, but we're particularly talking more about 3 woods here. So we're not really talking about something that's off the deck, but as you mentioned, it has to be sometimes used off the tee as well. Which that change in task means we need something that can do both jobs and help us do both jobs. I think the biggest thing is that a lot of people hang on to their fairway woods for a long time. We do see that just because they find something that they're very comfortable with, for sure. And as I mentioned, previously, just playing on Tuesday with a fellow journalist, and looked down in his bag, and he's got his old school Tour Edge, which is a club we're going to talk about later on here, that he makes use of because he trusts it. He knows, it's consistent. It does what he needs it to do. And that's where we need to start with, and talk about the fact that, just like any club in the bag, these are tools. That's it. We get involved and we like the looks of them and stuff, and you can do that. You can buy stuff for that purposes, because you're just trying to enjoy the game, and you want something that looks good, and you like it for a particular reason. But when we're talking about function, that's the most important thing, more than anything. And it is a tool to help you do a job, to achieve a certain shot. So the first thing you need to do is kind of assess, where's that gap in my bag, and what do I need this club to do? Is it something that you're going to be hitting as an alternate club off the tee? Is it something that you're expecting to hit in on long par 4s or into par 5s? Those are different tasks. So we have to look at our clubs that way. Thankfully, a lot of the fairway woods now, especially in the 3 woods as we talk about it, we have some adjustability now, and have some wider ranges because we have adjustable hosels in some of them. And that's not to say it has to have an adjustable hosel, but that gives you some options as far as range of lofts and how you're going to tweak the club for what you're going to do. So for an example, a fairway wood that I normally have in my bag now is I have a 3 wood that's a higher loft, 16.5. I knew probably on Tuesday there was a couple of tee shots that I would want to make use of it, but I didn't quite need as much trajectory and spin. I needed to, kind of juice it a little bit more distance off the tee. I knocked it down to 15.75. So it gave the adjustability. There are models that have an extremely greater range of adjustability, up to like 4 degrees. And again, you can change that around based on what the task is for the golf course and when you're playing it. We don't have to always just leave it in one spot. So adjustability is important when you're kind of looking at them. If you know that that's something that you're willing to do or wanting to do, might not be important for some players that just wanted to do kind of one task more than anything. So, but it's a nice bonus over, kind of years past. And, that adjustability as well, obviously goes into, the shaft, being able to change that in and out, and to look at that from a fitting perspective. Whereas, back in the day when they were just glued hosels, you got the shaft and kind of that was it. That was the loft you got. And if you wanted to make a change, you basically threw out the club more than anything. So so I'd start with adjustability as an important aspect of it. What do you look for in your fairway woods? We have a chart here of talking about some things that are important, but for you, what have you seen over the years?
Appearance is probably when it comes to fairway woods. Appearance is probably the biggest one for me. I don't like a particularly high face. I like the face to be shallower. I feel like as a fairway wood, I'm using that club more out of the fairway than I do out of the rough. For instance, I'm just not good enough, strong enough to be able to hit a fairway wood out of any kind of rough. Shallow rough,
and that's the case for a lot of people, right? And I think people overthink their capabilities, especially when it comes to a 3-wood distance where they're not capable of doing that. We don't see a lot of tour pros sometimes hitting a fairway wood out of, or a 3-wood for an example, out of rough.
If it's rough, if it's shallow rough, sure. If the ball's sitting up enough that you can get a fairway wood on it, then sure. Otherwise, I'm hitting a higher lofted iron and just trying to hit it down in fairway as far as I can. I'm not even going with I find hybrids easier to hit out of the rough than fairway woods anyway.
For sure.
But I do like the shallower look to it.
And that appearance is important. A lot of
huge.
People, that's the number one thing that, that shelf appeal, as we know back in our retail days or whatever, when people would sit it down, it could be a non-starter right away, no matter what the club would do for them or how it would perform when it was matched up with their golf swing or what their needs were. If they look down at it and go, that doesn't look so great, then they're not going to have that much confidence in it.
I would say the thing that probably changed the fairway wood game for me was when Adams introduced the tight lies. And then there was the Adams tight lies tour, which you had a 17-degree forward with
I still got one downstairs.
An Aldala. What the heck was the shaft in it? It was the green one, the EI-70.
The EI-70, yeah.
It was a dark green shaft, and you hit, and that was a bomb. You hit that bomb like a bomb. But that and the Orlamar tri-metals,
right?
When they came out with the shallow face, wider sole, so you had sort of like the traditional ones that were out there that were fairway wood size, but they still sort of that pear-shaped look with the pointed leading edge, so it's kind of like that sort of rounded bottom. But Adams and Orlamar had the tri-metal, and it was just the way that the front leading edge was a wider leading edge. So it seemed like more of the fairway would come in contact with the ball when it was on a flat surface, like on the fairway or in the rough. There was more face so those mishits would still catch face. Like it just seemed like that's the shape that they had. Whereas some of them they had, and I think TaylorMade had the V Steel, which I had. I had a V Steel with a steel shaft,
and they brought
love that club.
Yeah, and they brought back that sole shape in their sim line as well.
Yes. So that was sort of my go-to, and I think those were the clubs that were introduced that changed that for me.
I think the one issue with the shallow face clubs is it can be good and bad. Obviously, it's inspirational for a lot of people because they feel they can launch the ball. But if you look at the height of that face, unless they're able to match that up quite well when you're swinging, sometimes it can be a challenge for some players. So you'll see their strike be high or low on the face and have a real variance as far as spin. So one of the things I think has been cool with some of the designs that we've seen, based on that and knowing that was super important, we've started to see some designs start to, plump up a little bit more in height, but they're able to push that center of gravity low and kind of back. So you get that easy to launch, but you get a little bit more face. And I think even, that the one you mentioned, that tour, which I think I have a 13 and a 17, and they're down in the basement in the dungeon someplace still or whatever.
Golden.
But they were deeper in face than the original Titleist
Yes.
Tour, and as a result of it, it was a little bit easier to kind of get some effective strike out of it and still get some launch out of it, a little bit lower spin or so forth. But that's the key, is to kind of get that launch, but also not kind of increase the spin up by a ton, but also to make sure that you can you kind of strike it on the face. And that also leads, you mentioned the V steel. The one thing is that we always get romantic about some of the older clubs and stuff like that, and that's easy to do as we go back and we'll start to talk a few bit more about some of the different woods and stuff like that. But I've gone back and hit some of the original V steels and hit them compared to the newer TaylorMade sim model with the V steel, and it's way different as far as ball speed. The original V steel worked great, launched great, but you can definitely see there's a difference as far as the speed off the face. But the design characteristic was definitely good, and man, those old original ones are tiny too.
It's interesting, Scott, that you bring up, because you have your simulator too, you have the ability to kind of do some of this testing of the new versus the old.
For sure.
There's always the argument these days that, okay, these club companies keep coming out with new stuff every year or new stuff every 2 years, and it's like, oh, well, probably can play just as well with the stuff that I had from 5-6 years ago, 10 years ago. The fact that you can sort of see that, I look at a club like a V Steel and I say, you know what? I like the look of that way better than some of this modern stuff.
Right.
But then you see and you realize that may be true, but there is truth to what the companies are saying. Like the TaylorMade Stealth HD or the newest, you get into the new TaylorMade QI stuff. And it's okay, you're saying, okay, well, is it really that much better?
You can tell.
Truth is, yes, you can tell the difference. You can see a difference in the numbers. You can see a difference in ball flight and how it reacts.
Yeah.
So, yes, what's new is better.
Yeah,
but doesn't necessarily mean that what's new is that you're going to hit it any better. No. But you might.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is that you might not see the change like 1 year to the next or every 2 years, because it's so incremental as far as the change. Occasionally there'll be a club that comes along that gets to be a bit of a unicorn, and it's much easier to hit depending on the player. It might be more suitable for them. But certainly if you go back and look at generations of stuff that's 5 or 10 years old and compare it, there's definitely some tweaks and some technologies and things that have definitely enhanced it. And we see that particularly in the speed off the face. We start to see now that we get ball speeds and COR, which is really basically the efficiency of the club head. We're seeing now fairway woods that almost have the same as a driver as far as that efficiency. So you definitely see them faster, the ball coming off faster versus kind of the deader, some of the older ones when they had thicker faces and so forth. So that fast faced is helpful as well, especially for low speed golfers that you need to, because speed not only helps them get distance, but it also helps them launch the golf ball a little bit as well, keep the ball in the air, which becomes really important. So a feature like that is certainly important as well.
All right, well, let's take a look, Scott.
Sure.
Let's take a look at some of the best. Now, they're in no particular order,
and
this is not some kind of like that. This list could be 100 deep. We're just going at a few here that we kind of feel maybe some of the best in no particular order. So
and they might not be something that are in the wheelhouse of some players that they never even would have thought to hit, or it's not suitable for them if they're a high speed player or a low speed player. It's just ones that we've noted over the years.
Okay, so let's start with TaylorMade Stealth HD.
Yeah. So this one's kind of unique because it wasn't the main line, let's just say the core product. The HDs were really designed for a higher handicapper or somebody who struggled to get the golf ball in the air, but man, they're so easy to hit. And it's some of those designs that are sort of are on the periphery that you don't see because they're maybe not marketed as much as what the tour stuff, which obviously people put that on a stage that, okay, this is the premium stuff, this is the thing. these are the clubs that kind of sneak in there.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, they had a Stealth HD set of irons that, again, were fabulous. And I saw Nick from TaylorMade on Tuesday, and he actually had a QI10 irons in his bag. And he's a good player. This is a guy who,
but
you know,
that's
was
more of a game improvement.
Right. But this is a guy who was, you know, won a Nova Scotia junior championship, you know, in his younger days. But he put this in here and he's like, man, these things might stay in my bag. So the HD model in the Fairway wood, it was, we'll call it a little bit more triangular in shape. Mass really pushed really far back. Again, easy to launch in the air. So I mean, it was kind of, again, a little bit more of a secret kind of club. And you know, if you run into one and you're looking for something that you want to launch, yeah, it's a good one.
All right, so let's move on to another one. And sorry, folks, you're going to hear more Scott and less Jeff in this little section, because this is going to be kind of Scott's wheelhouse. So if I have something to say, I'll say it, but it'll probably be a joke or something stupid. Cobra F9.
Yeah. Another one that, you know, if people look at from a performance standpoint, high level of adjustability, shape, really clean, fairly shallow. Again, so a model that was fairly, you know, a little bit older. I mean, we've still had a lot of progression. Like if you look at the, you know, some of the dark speed stuff that's out now, you know, it really progresses, is built upon that platform that really came out in kind of that F9. But, you know, it's an older product that still, you know, it still slaps. Let's put it that way, as the kids would put it. You know what I mean? It's a good fairway wood, adjustable, easy to launch, real simple to look at. You know, came in multiple color options as well. If people are into that, there's blues and yellows and all sorts of different
Ladies
things.
and gentlemen, Scott McLeod trying to invoke his inner young adult. It slaps.
It just came out of my brain. But yeah, the Cobra F9, which, you know, again, it's sort of it set a platform for a number of Cobra clubs to follow.
Okay, so let's move on. Let's talk about Ping. Now, Ping has look at Ping when it comes to fairway woods, or woods in general, but the G series of Ping woods, we're going to talk about the Ping G400, but that's sort of more the beginning of the series for Ping, and they haven't gotten any worse since.
No.
Let's talk about the G400, the 400 series that started it all.
Yeah. Well, you know, we go back to the original G, I guess, especially when we talk about drivers and stuff. But that 400 was one that sort of hits a sweet spot for a lot of players. I still see a lot of them show up. I see a lot of them show up on the lesson tee all the time. Very shallow face, so that's a little bit of a warning for some players if they don't really control their arc height of their swing.
Yeah, they can get underneath that thing in a hurry.
They can definitely get underneath that thing in a hurry for sure. But a lot of mass pushed way back. Larger profile, which is great for some players because they sit it down and they're like, man, that just inspires a lot of confidence, where you get a fairway wood that's, you know, a little bit too small for some players. So, you know, mid to higher handicappers really like this one for sure. Just got to be careful as far as controlling that strike. But again, just a great fairway wood model that, you know, continued as a platform like the Cobra did for, or the F9 did for Cobra, to be a platform that they kind of built on from there.
So we're going to talk about the next club we're going to talk about it's just kind of off it's a little bit off the normal chart with the Tour Edge CB. Tour Edge is not, I mean, trust me, the equipment that Tour Edge makes is phenomenal. This is high-end stuff. You see a lot of it on the Champions Tour right now.
Definitely. Yeah.
So that may be part of the reason why some people maybe don't focus too much on it. It's not a seniors club. Okay.
No, not at all. No.
So this stuff is really well made, good quality merchandise, but you don't see a lot of it in the same realm as some of the other ones. But the Tour Edge CB is one to kind of pay attention to.
Yeah, and it was the one that sort of started it all for them, because it was sort of that, we'll call it the secret club, where you start to look around the bags, even on a PGA Tour, for an example, players that were under contract, but maybe had, you know, they're under contract for 12 clubs or 11 clubs, and they needed something that was kind of hot, and they wanted it was started really a lot of players that were not contracted to play it, and that was kind of the thing. And
Mm-hmm.
eventually, obviously, they built out a team, and they sort of, as far as endorsed players, they really focused mostly on the Champions Tour. But I think it was players like Brandt Snedeker, for an example.
Yeah.
He had the Tour at CB in there. There was a number of other players as well that, he just sort of became that sort of cult favorite within. And, they progressed beyond there, but I still see a lot of them out there. So a player could be dedicated towards a particular brand, but you'll still see that club sort of sneak in there. And it was just a hot fairway wood. It was one of the ones that had kind of the fastest faces early on, and it just had the right combination of sound as well at impact, which is really important because you get a certain perceived sound when you hit it, and you get a certain feels nice and dense, but it also has the nice high enough pitch that it feels like you're really hitting it
Yeah,
really good.
exactly.
And it did. So yeah, definitely see a bunch of those out there right now.
Okay. Now I know there's some more on the list of some of the best in no particular order, but let's
Yeah,
move past that. We don't want to get
sure.
through a few of these other ones too. So
Yeah,
let's move to
pick
some of
any
the
you want.
ones, a couple of that we would consider underrated.
Mm.
So let's first talk about some beautiful equipment, but let's talk about Mizuno ST
Yeah,
Z230.
yeah,
Z230, Canadian, American, however you want to say it. But
sure.
Mizuno,
Yeah,
they make some fantastic irons, but
they
little
do.
do you know about their woods.
Yeah, I played around a fair bit with their drivers in the past, but again, a brand maybe a little bit under the radar when it comes to woods. As you said, they're highly known for their irons, but those fairway woods seem to be the one when you're down at the PGA show and somebody goes wandering over to the Mizuno booth of the demo day, and they come back and they're like, yeah, that 3-wood was pretty good. It just it's I won't call it spectacular, right? It doesn't like go 10 out of 10 on every category, but it's one of those ones that hits the sweet spot on a lot of different things, in
You
8
like
or
the sweet
9.
spot,
I
don't
know
you?
why. I know I said that twice. But the shape is really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
And just, it is a little bit more on the compact side. But the shape is really good, sets up, really aligns really well, inspires a lot of confidence, has a dark finish to it, just as a like the another one that we're going to talk about in a minute here. And it just, again, it's underrated. Probably didn't sell as many as they should have at retail, and as a result of it, you probably see a few more of them floating around. And if you see one, yeah, don't be afraid to try it out. And just because it's not a brand that you particularly know for fairway woods, it's one to give a shot to.
Okay. So another we'll classify it as the underrated category
Yeah.
is the Srixon ZX MK2.
I see the smile on your face.
Well, I mean,
You,
there is a
you
bit of
can
a smile on my face
you
because
can go on this one.
we
That's for sure.
we're not gonna sugarcoat this too much, but the fact that these are in my bag.
Yeah.
I just moved from the previous renditions of the Srixon ZX Fairway Woods to the ZX MK2. It's
Right.
So this is another one of those lower profiles like the Ping,
Yeah.
shallower face, which I really like.
Yeah.
And they've now switched the line from the sort of shiny graphite top finish to the matte black
Yeah.
finish,
So they went from a gloss to a matte.
which is extraordinary for me. That's one of the huge selling points on a fairway wood for me, or on
Yeah.
a driver for me, or on a hybrid for me, is that matte black. I'm not a big fan of the shiny.
Yeah.
I used to like the white. I used to like the white because of the fact that it didn't have that shininess to it, and now we're kind of getting into more with the matte black finish. Beautiful club, launches the ball very high.
Yeah.
I'll let you get into sort of the technical specs of it all, but for me, this is the club that fits right into, which is, one of the reasons why I have the driver, the fairway wood, and the hybrid in my bag this year, upgraded to the new version. I love these.
Yeah, and I think they're
Underrated,
very,
yes.
yeah, I think they're very much like the Mizuno. I mean, a lot of people have come to know Srixon, a lot for the irons more than anything.
Mhm.
And I guess this is a club that if you talk to club fitters, they definitely get this in the hands of some people, and it's a really good fit. And people should understand that, not every club is going to be suitable for every person.
No.
And really, we portray a lot of these as just because they are lots of really cool options. Again, it's just another one that, don't ignore it. If you have a chance to try it out or hit it, don't just pass by going, Zerixon's good for irons, I'm not going to hit their woods. As you mentioned, really easy to launch, and I think that's a really important feature. I see too many amateurs out on the golf course, especially off the deck, especially if you get a golf course that has a little bit tighter lies and stuff like that. They have a hard time and they struggle to get their overall distance just because they can't get the golf ball in the air as much. That's why we see a lot of them moving to, weaker lofted 3 woods or 5 woods, for an example.
To get the airborne.
Right, just to get the airborne. But this is a case of where you can retain loft, so you can retain more speed, retain a little bit more distance, but still be able to launch it. So another one just to give a look to for sure.
All right. Now I know we're going to get up against it pretty soon here.
Yeah,
with time,
we've talked about a number of these.
Yeah,
already.
So we'll just kind of throw a few names out there, because we've talked about what the sort of the best ones and the underrated ones.
Yep.
So we'll just talk a little quickly about old school.
Yeah.
And we already mentioned the previously we talked about the TaylorMade V Steel.
Yeah.
Has one of those old school ones that still has appeal.
Yeah, R11 too. I didn't put that one in there, but the R11 fairway woods, I think I still have a four wood around here someplace that I
and you still see them, people buying them used.
Sure.
I'm in a Play It Again Sports. Corey is a good friend of mine. He's one of the owners of two of the Play It Again Sports here in Ottawa, and they have this is what they have.
Sure.
People buying used. The V Steels, Callaway Steelheads. You got to remember these is the next rendition of the Callaway Warbird, Callaway Big Bertha line, when they had the Steelheads.
Steelhead Plus as well, which I think the only problem with the Steelhead Plus was remember, I don't know if you remember this one, but they started to thin out the faces a little bit on the Steelhead Plus. We had a lot of cracking, so it was kind of there to kind of ramp up the speed a little bit. And I can remember playing around with I'm gonna guess I had a 2 wood and a 4 wood or something like that. But yeah, definitely saw some face collapses. But again, they were just an easy to hit. If you go back and look at them now, it's quite funny because you see how small they are.
I know. You don't think about it in your mind. You're thinking, they're not that much smaller than the ones that are out there now. It's like, oh yeah, they are. And speaking of much smaller, the next one now this thing was a rocket though.
It was
the Titleist PT fairway woods. Oh, yeah. I remember. I think Tiger played.
Yes, and that's PT. That's why it sort of boomed in popularity. He had that fairway wood and he had that in his bag, and a lot of people were like, "Oh, that's a players club and stuff." I
thought it was like what I remember of it, it was a hard feel to it. Like when you hit a Callaway or you hit a TaylorMade back in the day. It had that sort of, it felt like it was launching off the club face. Like it just had that sort of tinging sound, but it felt hot. The Titleist PTs did not feel hot. They came off. It felt like they were hard, but man, oh man, it was like it just rocketed off the face.
Yeah. Very compact. Mass was in a small area, so generally, if you made contact, the thing went fairly low spin. They didn't really launch super high, so as a result of it, you got a little bit of more juice out of it. But boy, you better be a good player to strike this thing for sure. A lot of players, had them in the bag with like steel shafts in there in the 3 woods and stuff, which were kind of heavy. And again, this is one of those most romantic clubs that people go back to, and they're like, "Oh, I had that during high school and whatever." And then they get 50 years old and they go back and they get one because they find it on eBay, and they sit it down. They're like, "How did I hit the ball with this thing?" So,
no, it's crazy. And you almost had to have if you were a player, you almost had to play a 17 degree in order to get the height, because you could get the distance of a 3 wood out of the 17. But you couldn't get the height out of the 13 and then the 15. You almost had to go with the PT 17 just to be able to get that sort of trajectory to stop a ball.
Yeah, and some spin.
This one here, I don't really remember.
Do you remember? So
Sonar Tech, I don't remember too much about it.
Sonar Tech was the Royal Collection was a JDM brand, so it had a black head to it, and And then basically it was sort of became one of those cult favorites. It sort of had a little horseshoe undercut on the bottom, and then it was popular on the tour. Now, the problem was with it, the brand was brought over, and it was Peter Pocklington, the former owner of the Edmonton Oilers, that got involved with the
Popular
company.
guy.
The thing went sideways as far as the business. I'm sure the license bounced around a little bit, and we saw some different product come out even in the last few years with the name on it. But again, it was just it looked very much like that Adams Tight Light Tour, right? The deeper faced, but a lot of people, it was just a hot 3-wood. One of those ones that, again, guys on tour see it, they see another guy play it, it gets into a bunch of bags. It's hot for kind of a year, and then it sort of disappears, which is a trend that we see with, Shafts and some other clubs as well. But yeah, it was one that we saw around for a fair bit. And, if players were familiar with it in the late 90s, early 2000s, I guess they would know the name.
Okay, last one we're going to talk about real quickly, and then we're going to get out of here.
Sure.
We already talked about Adams Tight Light, so we're not going to get into that one, but Orlamar Tri-Metal.
Yeah.
This was the miraging face.
Yeah.
and now, if I remember correctly,
okay,
Orlamar Tri-Metal came out.
Yep.
After the patent ran out on that. Was that not when KZG started to release? Because KZG created
correct
the concept of the miraging face,
right,
and they were unable to release that because they owned
they licensed it to Orlamar, so they would get a licensing fee out of that. And Orlamar basically popped up as one of these direct to consumer on TV brands. The face was just a guy named Jesse Ortiz, and I don't know if you remember, I don't know if you were at that one when they debuted them. They did a big event at Grand Cypress in Orlando.
I remember it. I wasn't at that one, but I do remember it. Yeah,
and it was like David Off Cigars, and it was.
Oh, wait a minute! I was at that.
Yeah, Ken Venturi hanging out, and they had all these endorsements with lots of different things. So again, it was just a hot club. I think I have a hip tie, which was a progression of it. I think I've got a 14 degree in that fairway wood downstairs. But again, this is just a low profile thing around the same time as Adams. A lot of people were jumping on that low profile train. This track happened to have some multiple weights in it. So it was a multi-material club. Had some brass weight inserts in the bottom. I think they're brass, might have been tungsten or whatever. But whatever the case, it was low profile, felt super hot. They tried to kind of progress from there and kind of build out into other products, but really they were kind of a one-trick pony. The name got bounced around a little bit and passed around over the years. They're still around as far as that brand, but it's not what it was. But they were hot for a while, and again, big thing as far as a lot of people. The 13 degrees, the 15 degrees. They had as low as 11 degree loft in a fairway wood.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, people wanted them because they thought they were magic. So,
and then shortly after the licensing ran out with KZG started to release their own stuff, and KZG became very known within the club making market, club making industry. Club makers used KZG. I had a number of KZG irons and woods over the years. I think I still have a driver in the garage. It was KZG
blade irons downstairs.
Like we had the really good stuff.
Yeah. I've scared some students with the 2-iron.
2 irons, awesome. I had a 1 iron.
That scares me.
That scares me.
Remember we actually had it on our cover. We had the 0 offset irons.
Yes.
Which they had down to a 0 iron in that thing. So
yeah, the Zeos, those are great. I had like a brushed metal finish in those things.
Yeah.
Eric Cook, back the old Swing Sink, made a number of sets for me over the years, and Don Irving made me a set once, and so I've had lots of KZG, and like I said, I think there's still a driver in the garage that I broke a shaft in or something.
The fairway wood, like I said, for a lot of people, it's a very difficult club from a fit standpoint. So, when you get something that's going to perform for you, have it in the bag for a while. If you trust that thing, have it. But certainly take your time when you're processing and trying to find one from a fit standpoint. But lots of great ones over the years, but don't always just be romantic about it. Make sure it functions and does what you need it to do. But
it's not like a retro hockey jersey, people. They don't just look cool. You put them on and everybody loves them. Some of these old school stuffs, they look great. They feel you got that whole, look at this old school bad boy right here. It's like, well, it's an old school bad boy for a reason. Good luck with that.
Yeah, time to move on.
All right. Great show.
Fun
Great
stuff.
Discussion about fairways. I love going all retro, but we're not going to do that every week. But it was great to go there this week. Thanks everybody for listening. Thanks to our sponsors, Metcalf Golf Club, Celtic Golf Center, presenting sponsor this week, TaylorMade Golf. Every driver has an inertia number, and the higher that inertia number, the more forgiving the driver will be. Now, golf is about to discover the first ever driver that combines TaylorMade speed with forgiveness of 10K inertia. The all-new QI10. More forgiveness means longer, straighter drives, even on off-center strikes. The days of missing the fairway are numbered. Get ready to experience drives in 10K with the all-new QI10, only from TaylorMade. To learn more, visit TaylorMadeGolf.ca. Well, thank you very much for listening to us and watching. Hope you've been enjoying it. Follow us across all the social media platforms, Instagram, X, Facebook, and subscribe on Spotify, Audible, Amazon Music, and Apple Podcasts. Do not forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Like us, click the notification bell. Make sure that you never miss a single episode of this podcast. Get over to flagstick.com for more amazing golf content delivered every single day. And please sign up for Flagstick Digest. Weekly newsletter sent out 3 times a week. All this great information we post online goes right into the newsletter 3 times a week and is delivered directly to your inbox. Can't get any better than that. But as always, we appreciate you tuning in. But until next week, I'm Jeff Potter.
I'm Scott McLeod.
Remember, always go for the stick.